When I saw Bonanza the other day, something occurred to me.
Huh?
You got these four guys living on the Ponderosa, and you never hear them say anything about wanting to get laid. I mean, you never hear Horse say to Little Joe, "Had such a hard on when I woke up this morning."
No,
You
Sam,
mean, they don't talk about broads, nothing.
Never seen
You
with
never,
their dicks
yeah,
in
you
their
never
hand.
hear Little Joe say, "Hey, Horse, I went to Virginia City and I saw a girl with the greatest ass I've ever seen in my life." They just walk around the Ponderosa. Yes, Pa, where's Little Joe? Nothing about broads. I don't think I'm being too picky. I'm beginning to think that show doesn't have too much realism. What do you think?
Sam, I can't concentrate on a Bonanza bullshit. I got too much on my brain. What with that asshole and the Home Improvement Commission, I don't want to have to worry about whether Little Joe got laid last night, all right?
Hello there, welcome back to the Flicks Files. So this is going to be another hidden gem video where I talk about a movie that is either not many people have seen or it doesn't get talked about very much. It's certainly the case that this movie is a hidden gem because it's never had a physical Blu-ray release. The movie, as of me recording this in August 2024, is only available on DVD. And I just wish it had a Blu-ray release. I keep checking every couple of months to see if it's announced, but it never has been. It's a Touchstone Pictures movie, and I know that there are a number of Touchstone Pictures films out there that have yet to have a Blu-ray release. Touchstone is a subsidiary of Disney, or it used to be. So I don't know whether there's some legal problems that are preventing these films from getting released on the Blu-ray format. But I just hope that if there are, they're sorted, because I really want to own this movie on Blu-ray. So I only have it as a digital copy at the moment. You can get it from Amazon Prime and Apple TV and all the usual sources. So if at the end of this film you think, yeah, I kind of liked the idea of that film and the way he talked about it and you want to give it a go, then please do. So this is a very lovely, light-hearted comedy movie, which was directed and written by Barry Levinson. And it's set in Baltimore in the early 1960s. And I became aware of this movie because I'd seen Barry Levinson's earlier film, which was called Diner. And the thing I noticed about that movie was that Barry Levinson had a really good knack for writing real dialogue, like writing the way people speak normally. And it's not like movie speak, if that makes sense. Quentin Tarantino's really good at that as well. And there's a lot of that in Tin Men. And I thought when I was about to make this retrospective review, I thought this is going to be a hard one to talk about because plot-wise, obviously it has a plot, but the plot is secondary to the characters. What makes this movie so lovely and so much fun are the actors and the roles that they play and the conversations that they have. And I normally do include clips in these videos, but I think this one's going to be a quite hard one to do because the clips that I'm going to try and show you are extended clips with audio. So I'm probably going to upload it and then end up with a lot of copyright strikes from YouTube. But I want to get this movie out there and give it some love, so I'm going to give it a try. Now, anyone that saw my all-time top 15 video, which was my channel introduction video, I don't think many people did because I rambled on for about an hour. But when I talked about Jaws in that video, I made the comment that whenever I watch Jaws, it's like spending time with old friends. And I'm going to say the same for Tin Men. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean that because I've watched it over so many decades now, and I love the characters so much that whenever I rewatch it, it gives me like a nice warm fuzzy feeling because it feels like people that I know so well, if that makes sense. So what is this film about? What makes it so funny? As I say, it's set in the early 60s, and the movie opens with Richard Dreyfuss's character, and he's buying a Cadillac car from a car dealership. And he's wearing a nice suit, and he's obviously a man of means. So at this point, we don't quite know what he does for a living, but he's buying this brand new Cadillac car. And as he's driving it out of the showroom, he gets rammed into by Danny DeVito, who's driving down the street in another Cadillac. And they both get out the car and, like shout at each other, and none of them want to accept blame for the accident.
You bolted out of nowhere, pal.
I bolted.
You bolted out of nowhere.
I bolted.
Bolted out of nowhere.
I bolted at 6 miles an hour. I bolted into the street. You schmuck.
And that's kind of the plot, and it's essentially a tit for tat, in that neither of them, want to accept blame, and both of them blame the other for the accident occurring and, the damage they did to each of their cars. So they try and get even with one another, and that plays out throughout the whole film. And while that happens, there are obviously other characters that come into play, which, again, is one of the reasons I love this movie. Is not only are Richard Dreyfuss and Danny DeVito two great characters, but all the other characters that come and go, and the actors that play them just do such a wonderful job. So we learned that Richard Dreyfuss is is it Dreyfuss or Dreyfuss? I'll probably say both. But we learned that Richard Dreyfuss is what they call a tin man, and he sells aluminium siding, which is like a cladding that goes onto the exterior walls of a house to protect it. And I think in America it's called aluminum siding. So if you're an American, sorry, but I will be saying aluminium. So Richard Dreyfuss works for a company that sells aluminium siding, and he's a bit of a hustler. They kind of, him and his work colleagues for this particular company kind of know the tricks to get a sale. One of the first scenes that I really like is where Richard Dreyfuss and a colleague are outside the front of somebody's house, photographing this house. And they're kind of speaking very loudly, so the lady inside the house hears them. And they make out that they're working for Life magazine. And they're going, oh, yes, this house will be a wonderful before picture. And this lady comes out of the house and she's saying, well, what do you mean before picture? And they go, oh, well, we're doing an article about aluminium siding. And we thought your house would be a good before picture. And then we'll get another house with aluminium siding that looks so much nicer and more lovely. And that will be the after picture. And of course, this lady just goes, oh, well, can't my picture be the after picture? And how much does this aluminium siding cost?
That'll be a total of $3,700.
$3,700?
And you think, you crafty buggers, that's one of their hustles. And how do you eventually get a sale? So Richard Dreyfuss is kind of a successful tin man. Whereas Danny DeVito, on the other side of the coin, he is also a tin man by some strange twist of fate. But the company that he works for, the guys are a bit more jaded. They've obviously been in the business a lot longer. And Danny DeVito's character is in a bit of a slump, in that he's not made a decent sale for quite a while. So he doesn't have much commission. And he's in a relationship with the lovely Barbara Hershey. And, the movie opens where they're like bickering. You can see that their relationship's getting a bit strained. And Danny DeVito's struggling with his job. And I talk about how brilliant the secondary characters are. And one of the characters that Danny DeVito hangs out with in one of the many scenes that involves a diner, which is something that Barry Levinson likes to do. There's a great scene where they're sat around in a diner eating breakfast, and one of the other characters is obsessed with the TV Western series Bonanza. So he's always talking about bloody Bonanza, much to the chagrin of Danny DeVito. And it's really funny, and I'm going to try and include a clip here, an extended clip, and hopefully it won't get a copyright strike.
I'm going to tell you something. This Bonanza is not an accurate depiction of the West. That's all I'm saying. Do you ever watch that show? Bonanza.
Is somebody talking about Bonanza in here?
Today's a Bonanza
Oh, it's
day.
today. It's Monday.
Today is Bonanza
It's Bonanza Day, the big B day.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Go ahead,
Ben
Jay.
Conrad
You
Day,
laugh,
you know
you
what I
laugh
mean?
about
Ben
it.
and the boys
You
doing
can
it.
laugh about it, but it's just unbelievable. We ever see the show? It's a 50-year-old father and three 47-year-old sons. You know why they get along good? Because they're all the same age. Hey, Pa, you ride the horse, and I'll go to town. Come on, what kind of show is that?
Well, I don't look. I'm not an authority on it like you are, but I mean, I occasionally watch Bonanza, and I think it's like, can you believe here's a man who's got 3 kids from 3 different wives? They all died at childbirth. What is this
Must
here?
have been a hell of a man.
Who's gonna go around there?
You know.
He's the kiss of death.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's just called one hump and out.
So that gives you an idea of the kind of thing that I meant about Barry Levinson having a really good ear for dialogue. And there's another sequence that I like where the tit for tat progresses to the point where Richard Dreyfuss thinks, I know how to get the ultimate comeback against Danny DeVito's character. I'll sleep with his wife. So he finds out who Danny DeVito's wife is, and then he tracks Barbara Hershey down to this store where he strikes up a conversation with her, and he ends up kind of wooing her and eventually sleeps with her. And he immediately rings Danny DeVito and says this to him.
Hey, asshole. This is the ultimate fuck you. I just poked your wife.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, she's in my bed right now with a very big smile on her face.
Well, that's just fine by me. She's a pain in the ass, an albatross around my neck. You're welcome to her. Keep her, and may you both rot in hell.
And as you can see, Danny DeVito doesn't really care. You know, he realizes that he's getting towards the end of his relationship with Barbara Hershey. So this enrages Richard Dreyfuss even more because he was hoping it would really annoy him, and it had the opposite effect. And it's at that point in the movie that Richard Dreyfuss realizes he's falling in love with Barbara Hershey's character. And it's nice because to begin with, you feel really sorry for her because she's just a pawn in this tit-for-tat game that they're playing. But he realizes he's genuinely starting to develop feelings for her. And another scene that's a real standout for me that I really like, and just thinking about it makes me smile, is he decides to go to Barbara Hershey's house to just open his heart to her. You know, he's had a few drinks and he thinks, I'm going to tell her how I feel. And it's late in the evening and he realizes that he thinks, oh, well, Danny DeVito won't be around, because he knows at that point he's always hanging around with his salesman buddies, you know, trying to make a sale into the evenings. So he goes around to the house and Barbara Hershey's not there, but Danny DeVito is. And he's sort of hiding in the shadows, waiting for him. And he deliberately unlocks the front door so Richard Dreyfuss can sort of enter the property. And as he walks in, Danny DeVito kind of clocks him with the butt of his pistol and knocks him out. and then he's sat waiting for Richard Dreyfuss to wake up so he can have some words with him. And that's the next clip I'm going to show in its entirety.
You're a sick man. You smash my car, you steal my wife, and now you come to rob me. You're one demented human being. I'm gonna call the police and send you to jail. But first, I'm gonna humiliate you. What do you want to break into my house for? This ain't the fucking Rockefeller Mansion. There ain't 38 television sets here. It ain't like somebody saying, Nelson, I think we've had a break-in. Count the sets to see how many we got left. It ain't like there's tons of jewelry hanging out of the drawers, or I don't know which watch to put on in the morning. I got so many. I got enough problems with the IRS bullshit busting my balls and the Home Improvement Commission to contend with. I don't need aggravation from you. How you like your eggs, Babowski? Over easy?
So again, hopefully, you know, that clip made you smile and you can get an idea of the kind of comedy that's in this movie. It's not like a Jim Carrey zany comedy. It is more subtle. And the comedy is in the interaction, you know, with all the different characters. So yeah, the plot's just tit for tat. You know, it's like for like. It's Danny DeVito and Richard Dreyfuss going at odds with one another. And then another plot element is introduced to do with the Home Improvement Commission, which was a government body that looked at any nefarious practices that the salesman may have been using to encourage sales. And at this point in the movie, we know that both of them do use nefarious practices. So they start to worry if they're going to lose their licenses to sell aluminium siding. And towards the end of the film, so should I give spoilers? Are you going to watch? Oh, I'll give spoilers. I don't normally, but what the hell. So towards the end of the film, they both get pulled up in front of the Home Improvement Commission. And as a result, they both lose their licenses. And what's nice is that their character arcs is at the end of the movie, they realize that they have more in common than they think they do. And they're both in the same position professionally now because they're both effectively out of work. They can't be tin men anymore. And that's where they see a Volkswagen Beetle driving down the street. And Richard Dreyfuss kind of makes a comment of, you ever seen, like a sale showroom for those sort of cars? And you think, that's what they're going to do. They're going to go into business setting up a car showroom to sell Volkswagen Beetles. And that's kind of how the movie ends. So, as I say, this has been a difficult video to edit because it is a dialogue-driven comedy. And how do I get that across without having the video taken down by YouTube? So I've given it my best shot, and hopefully I've put out some love for Tin Man, made by Barry Levinson, released in 1987. And, if you do really want to watch it, either get it from one of the streaming services that I mentioned or pick up the DVD. I think you can get the DVD from Amazon. I think it's an American DVD. I don't think it was released in the UK. As I say, I have a digital copy, which is of good enough quality to kind of tide me over. But when it does eventually get released, I will be buying it day one. Don't you worry about that. So there we go. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give me a thumbs up, and you can hit subscribe. It doesn't cost anything and it helps me out a great deal. And I look forward to seeing you on the next video. So bye-bye for now.